Mastering your financial life. Understanding personal finance essentially revolves around the effective management of your financial resources. True, this insight is more beneficial if you already possess a certain amount of wealth. However, even if you find yourself in a financially challenged position, devoid of a stable income, the principles of managing finances remains relevant. The initial step on this journey to wealth accumulation is making a firm commitment to becoming prosperous. Without this foundational decision, all other efforts are likely to be fruitless. Regrettably, a significant number of individuals have relinquished their aspirations of attaining financial freedom. They have given up. One of the major reasons behind this resignation is the societal and parental conditioning that predisposes them towards financial mediocrity rather than wealth creation. Your mommy, your daddy, your friends, all of society is telling you, just be average, Johnny. Just be average, little Sarah. No. To break free from this cycle, it is crucial that you prioritize wealth accumulation. Remember, wealth does not materialize by chance. It demands your deliberate effort and focus. Thus, it is advisable to carve out some time every week to review your financial situation. This task does not typically consume much time. I'm not saying you got to take hours and hours to do this. However, it requires a keen eye to notice the changes that have occurred and areas that need to be addressed. If you want to make big changes in your financial situation, things should be changing every single week. They may not be big changes, but you should be able to point to something that is improving. Allocating a little weekly attention to your financial situation is not just recommended, it is essential. Without a regular system to track, measure, and evaluate your financial situation, expecting any positive change would be akin to wishful thinking, and that is not a very good strategy. Remember, if you do not take command of your money, it will inevitably end up being controlled by someone or something else. Hence, assert control over your finances and set the stage for a prosperous future. Prioritizing income generation. What do you think is the foundation of wealth? Saving or earning? In truth, both elements play a significant role. Obviously, you do have to earn money and you do have to save money. But the primary engine driving wealth creation is by far the generation of income. Contrary to conventional societal norms that significantly overemphasize savings, your primary focus should be on increasing your income. What percentage of the content you are consuming, the information you are receiving from other people is telling you, you need to lower your expenses, you need to save, don't spend too much? No. You are not going to get rich that way. You just don't have the income. You could save every single penny you have. If you're making minimum wage, you're not going to become rich. The prevalent culture promotes a mentality of savings because they do not believe you have the capability to earn more. They think your income is stuck where it is for the rest of your life. They don't believe in you. They don't think you have the ability to be a high income earner. I say that is not the path to prosperity. If you want riches, you need to dedicate as much of your mental energy as possible to income generation. Unfortunately, cultures promoting savings leads many individuals with lower incomes to concentrate on saving pennies. The very people who need to focus on generating more income the most are the ones who are thinking the most about saving, rather than seeking opportunities to earn more. If your income is not substantial, focusing predominantly on savings may prove futile. Yes, there are going to be some people who got lucky and they made a little bit of money and they put it in Bitcoin or whatever, and okay, now they have a bunch of money. That is the exception to the rule. The vast majority of people who become rich, and by the way, rich is not having $1 million net worth because you bought some house 35 years ago and now you own it. No, I'm talking about actual wealth, and not just when you're 70 years old. If you want wealth at an age where it's relevant, where you can still enjoy the money, you need to make more money. Indeed, earning forms the bedrock of wealth. Even with only moderate saving habits, a high income can still set you on the path to riches. Conversely, you might be an expert at saving, but without a substantial income, the dream of amassing wealth remains unattainable. Therefore, a significant portion, as much of your time as possible, should be devoted to activities that generate income. I want you thinking about making dollars, not saving pennies. Reflect on your current job or income-generating activities. Do they have the potential to provide the earnings you need to amass wealth? Evaluate the extent to which your income can grow, and then the time frame required to reach your desired levels of financial freedom. It is not solely about saving, nor is it purely about spending. The spotlight is on income. Income is the foundation upon which your financial skyscraper is built. While it might be taxed at a higher rate compared to more passive income sources, yes, let's be honest, without a sizable income in the first place, you will not have sufficient funds to invest in those passive income streams. You need to start with income. Thus, focus on cultivating and growing your income, for it is the key to unlocking the door to wealth. The arithmetic of earning. Suppose your monthly income is $3,000 a month. It is unrealistic to expect that you're going to be a millionaire next year. It's just not going to happen. Of course, there are people who, say, come out of college broke and they get some professional contract to be some professional sports player and they make millions of dollars. That's the exception to the rule. Okay, we're talking about normal people with normal jobs in normal situations. You're not going to go from 3,000 to $1 million plus in 1 year. The figures do not align. It doesn't add up. It doesn't compute. Even with substantial growth, you could double, triple your income in 1 year, which is impressive. You're not even going to be scratching the door. You're not even going to be close to $1 million. That's not to say you're not doing well. You need to focus on increasing wherever you're starting from right now. You need to be thinking not, how can I get rich within a year? You got to get rid of that mindset. I want you to think big. I want you to broaden your vision beyond your current and past financial situations. But I need you to understand it's not necessarily going to happen overnight or in 1 single year. So, consider a scenario where you are earning, again, let's say $5,000 a month. What I want you to think or at least part one of what I want you to think, is how can I increase this to $5,500 a month? This is a 10% increase with minor modifications to your current existing strategy. You should be able to achieve this in a reasonably short period of time. Reasonable output of effort, reasonably low risk, reasonably short period of time. You should be able to make these little incremental improvements to your income. Reflect on what actions you need to undertake. Perhaps that can be working an extra hour each day. It can be scheduling an extra meeting each day. It can be incorporating a new product into your business. This process should be ongoing. And by the way, if you work for someone else where you're not allowed to work more hours, then obviously we are either going to want to try to find a higher paying job, or if we cannot do that, we are going to have to start working on a side business. Now, we may not be making money in the short term, but we want to be making progress on our side business. That's the way we are going to make marginal gains in the short term. This process should be ongoing. I always want you thinking marginal. When you're making, instead of $5,000 a month, now you're making $50,000 a month, I still want you thinking, how can I get to $55,000 a month? Because the strategies and tactics you are using at that time, you should be able, with, again, minor modifications and minor marginal effort, to go from $50,000 to $55,000 in a reasonable amount of time. This strategy does not negate the need for exponential growth. That's the other side of the equation. I need you to do both. I need you to think small, but I also need you to think exponential. I need you to think not 10%, but tenfold. How can I double my income? How can I triple my income? How can I 10x my income? Continually contemplate on ways to drastically increase your income. This is where you're not just thinking about working a little bit longer or a little bit harder or a small deviation from your current strategy. This is where you really think big. It's how can you take the business from perhaps little one-man operation to now you have 5, 10 employees, your revenue is 5, 10, 20 times higher. This will likely require a completely different strategy. It forces you to think about your business differently. Often, the ways that will get you to 10% more don't even apply. They are not even compatible with 10 times more. You can increase your income by 10% just by working 10% more. It's relatively simple. You cannot 10 times your income by working 10 times more. If you're already working 50 hours a week, you can't work 500 hours a week. The math there's not enough hours. So you must maintain a sharp focus on both the long-term growth and the short-term growth. If your attention drifts away from growth, your income will likely diminish. And as your income shrinks, so too does your motivation, as will your ability to save and subsequently invest and achieve financial independence. The principle of 95%. A common mistake made by the majority is investing considerable effort in curbing their spending, when they should, in fact, be focusing on increasing their income. The road to financial liberation is paved with increased earnings rather than diminished spending. I actually want you increasing your spending over time. I'm not even one of these people who's like, oh, just keep your expenses the same and just make more money. And as you make more money, just put that into your safe. No, where's the motivation in that? I want you to be able to spend big. I want you to be able to live well. And I'm saying you need to make a lot of money. You need to focus almost exclusively on income generation in order to achieve that. Now, I'm not saying be reckless. I'm not saying that your spending should ever exceed your income. What I'm saying is try to spend as little time as possible on it to keep your expenses at or below where your income is. The aim is to generate an income so substantial that it surpasses what the average person could reasonably spend. While there are individuals who will exhaust their earnings regardless of their income level, right? There's the Johnny Depps of the world who are going to spend $2 million to shoot their friend's ashes out of a cannon. Yeah, okay, there are those people, but that's not the average person. You give the average person $20 million a year, he's probably going to do okay financially. You need to strive to fall into the high income earning category, not the category of people who are living like they're poor from 100 years ago because they're so scared. Oh, I left the lights on and I have an extra 3 cents of an electricity bill. No, we're not focusing on that. We're saying, hey, I left the lights on, whatever. It was a couple seconds, whatever, big deal. I'm focused on income generation. I am here at work and I am worried about work. I'm not focused about my light switch being on. The golden rule for financial prosperity is to allocate at least 95% of your time and mental bandwidth towards the enhancement of your income, leaving 5% or less for managing expenses. Consider your household income statement. If you do not possess one, you should probably create one so you know how much you're taking in and putting out. This statement outlines your household expenses and your income. Take a moment to visualize this. For many, the list of expenses is extensive. They have dozens, if not hundreds of expenses, all these little expenses. And that's going to be this long list. While on the income side, maybe you got 1 or 2 numbers. This is a skewed representation. It makes you think more about the expenses because on the income side, you got 1 or 2 things. It makes it feel more fixed, less changeable. Whereas on the expense side, you're like, oh, look, I've got 50 expenses. I should be able to cut one of these expenses. No, that is the wrong way to think about it. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a different strategy when reviewing your finances each week. Consolidate your expenses into a single figure. Yes, initially, you're going to have to break them all out, but once you get that number, just consolidate it into one single number. Boom, here's what my expenses are. Point blank. It's not going to feel very malleable. It's going to feel fixed. That's how I want it to feel. And then, if possible, I want you to try to expand your income, not as in like higher income, but in terms of how you visually display it. I want to see, say you're in sales, show me each sale, right? You made 20 sales. Instead of consolidating that, show me the individual sales. Show me, maybe you got some residuals coming in. Show me your residuals. Show me each commission you made. Show me every contract your business got. This will help your mind view your expenses as fixed, but your income as flexible. See, you flipped it. Now you got one single number on the expense side, but you might have dozens on the income side. So your mind is quickly going to forget about expenses and it's going to start visually cueing in on the income and saying, oh, you know what? Maybe I can do a little bit here. Maybe I can do a little bit here. Oh, this number's lower. I can increase this one. Here's what I want you to do next. Once you have established a baseline for your expenses, you know roughly what your expenses are and you have them under control. Now, you have to be honest with yourself here. If you have a spending problem and you are constantly trying to spend to the absolute maximum and more than you have and more than your income, you really need to pay more attention to your expenses. You got to get over that. You have to stop spending more than you're earning. But once you get your expenses under control and they are at or below where your income is, I don't even want you thinking about expenses anymore. Okay, you got your number. You can put your number there in the expense category, but I don't want you actually adding it up every single week anymore. Periodically, yes, you got to check in, make sure your expenses are still where they're supposed to be, but I do not want you allocating weekly attention to it anymore. I want you to exclusively focus on income generation. The goal is over time to focus less and less and less on expenses and more on income. But you do have to make sure that your expenses are in check before you do that. Obviously, if you're irresponsible with spending and you're spending way more than you're bringing in, you're going to put yourself in a crisis situation, and we can't have that. Now, some financial pundits might suggest having 3 or 6 months of savings. This advice is sound. It's a good starting place. I wouldn't disagree with it. Obviously, you want to have savings. You want to get yourself out of that emergency mode where you're thinking, oh, how am I going to pay rent next month, right? Here's the problem. They never talk beyond that. It's always, oh, just get yourself out of absolute abject worst case scenario poverty. Yeah. Do that, but then what? I want a little bit of motivation. I want a little bit of vision beyond this minimal target. Why? I believe they underestimate you. They don't believe in your ability to achieve more. They're saying the best you can do is to just, have a couple months and that's it. Don't try to hope for anything more. Don't wish for anything more. Don't try to have a grand vision. The best you're going to achieve is to have a couple months of rent in savings. I am here to challenge those limitations. Building wealth will forever remain a distant dream, and a dream that's never going to happen, if all you can manage to do and all you think about is, well, I just got to get a few months of rent in savings. Yeah. I just gotta keep working this minimum wage job and keep being absolutely poor, keep cutting those expenses, so I can just have my 3 months of rent, yeah. No, you will likely never put forth the effort required to produce significant income if your goals do not reach beyond a couple months of rent. Again, we need to achieve that first. But I want you to have a vision beyond that. In the game of personal finance, consider earning as the offensive strategy. And then I want you to think about saving as the defense. In this case, the best defense is indeed a good offense. And I want you thinking about offense all day long. Mastering the art of credit cards. Are credit cards a financial pitfall? This is a common belief, yet it is largely misguided. Ask any affluent individual if they possess credit cards, and their answer will likely be trying to remember how many credit cards they have, not yes or no. Like, oh, of course I have credit cards. I got like 9 credit cards. The problem does not lie with credit cards themselves, but rather with irresponsible usage. Those who have accumulated wealth comprehend how to utilize credit cards effectively and to their advantage. Contrary to the wealthy, the average person often resorts to a credit card due to financial constraints, meaning to buy things that they cannot buy with cash, or a belief in their inability to increase their earnings. So if they ever want to have that thing, they just got to use the credit card because they're never going to make more money. However, the intended use of a credit card, I'm not saying by the credit card companies, but what your intended use should be, is to use a credit card as a safer, more secure replacement for cash that provides a free electronic record of transactions for yourself and for tax purposes. It is essential to remember that a credit card should never, ever be used for a purchase that you are not capable of or willing to pay for in cash. You should think of it exactly like cash, just better. You should clear the balance every single month in full. Never carry a balance. Therefore, you avoid all and any interest charges. The transaction history eliminates the need to retain receipts, providing easy access to past expenses and identifying business deductions for tax purposes. This not only saves you considerable time, but also enhances your financial organization. It's a lot easier to see what you're spending money on when you have this easy electronic record right there, automatically. Another benefit is your credit score will increase, enabling you to secure larger loans at more favorable terms and interest rates, which can then be used to expand your business and consequently your income. Do not fall into the common trap of believing you must maintain a balance on your credit cards to improve your credit score. I don't know how this old wives' tale got started, but it is completely false. Now, it may speed up the process a little bit, but you can attain a credit rating in excess of 800 without ever paying a single penny in credit card interest, car loan interest, mortgage payments, or any other form of interest. That is not to say all interest is bad, by the way. I'm not saying you should never take on loans and hold the loans and pay interest. I'm just saying this is false. You do not have to do that in order to improve your credit score. Another noteworthy advantage of credit cards is the protection they offer against fraudulent charges. If your wallet is misplaced, your credit cards are safeguarded, while your cash, not so much. Not at all. With most credit cards, you can opt to receive instant notifications for every single transaction via text or email, allowing you to report any unauthorized charges literally within seconds of it happening. While these reasons are great, my personal favorite feature of credit cards, we saved the best for last here. Oh, baby, it's that cash back. I love nothing more than free cash, baby. For 100% free. Not only free, we're talking like you don't even have to pay taxes on it. You get money for free that is also tax-free. There's nothing better than free, tax-free money. Some of the best credit cards out there currently offer a 2% cashback reward with no limitations, no category restrictions or rotations, no annual fees, none of that stuff. Just free money, 2% cashback on every single penny you spend. Just makes me all warm inside thinking about it. As long as the price remains the same for credit card purchases, because there are times where you do have to pay a higher price, obviously that's a different situation. But if the price is the same for cash or credit, the correct choice 100% of the time is to put that bad boy on a credit card and you get yourself some free cash back. Decoding the mystery of debt. When someone provides you with money that must be repaid, you have incurred debt, kind of like credit cards, but it doesn't have to be a credit card. There is a pervasive notion that debt is a financial menace to be avoided at all costs. While that's maybe true for credit card debt, that's not true for all debt. It is portrayed as this villain in the financial world, primarily due to a widespread lack of understanding. The truth, however, is a little more nuanced. Debt can be beneficial or detrimental depending upon the circumstances. There are situations where incurring debt is advantageous, and others where it is preferable to be the one whom the debt is owed. When is it appropriate to take on debt? The primary reason you should take on debt should be to expand your business or improve your financial situation. History shows that many of the world's largest and most prosperous companies have, at some point, taken on debt. In other cases, they have sold shares of their company in exchange for funding. Many of the successful companies have employed both strategies. The investment might be indirect as well, such as funding your business education or enhancing your social media presence. Obviously, you have to take that one with a grain of salt. It's relevant for some people and not relevant for other people. While these may not immediately boost revenue, the long-term benefits may be substantial. You may also choose to take on debt at a low interest rate to then allocate to a higher return investment, assuming the terms of the debt are favorable. Debt can also be taken on to avoid creating taxable events and for other tax-related purposes. We consider debt in situations such as these good debt. It is debt that overall improves the quality of your financial situation and life. Conversely, bad debt is incurred for purchases that are not business-related and do not help your financial situation, such as vacations, luxury cars, and expensive furniture. Overcoming the psychology of scarcity. When you are born into a family with modest means, perhaps belonging to the lower or middle economic class, it is likely that you inherited some beliefs and attitudes from your parents and peers that are associated with these social classes that lead to what can be termed a scarcity mindset. Those belonging to the lower and middle classes often believe in a finite amount of wealth in the world, although true in the literal sense is often not a very useful belief to have and is thought of more as an excuse for why that individual cannot become wealthy. And in this sense, it is a false belief. There is enough room in the world for you to become financially successful. These individuals are inclined to see life as a zero-sum game, a game where one person's gain therefore necessarily means another person's direct and equal loss. This view might hold true in, say, the stock market, or a completely stagnant world with zero innovation and zero economic growth. However, in our modern era, marked by technological advancements and globalization, the collective wealth of the world is continually expanding. And that means people can make money, can create wealth, improve their living situation without anyone being harmed. Consider the fact that hundreds of millions of people today enjoy comforts and conveniences that were beyond the reach of even the most powerful kings and queens just a couple hundred years ago. The average middle-class person in America lives an extremely higher quality life than the richest person in the world just a couple hundred years ago, and every single human being that ever came for all of Earth's history before that. More often than not, when you create value for yourself, you simultaneously create value for others in your community and the world overall. It is not necessary for someone else to lose for you to win. New wealth is being created every day, and you are deserving of a share of it just as much as anyone else. The perceived shortage of money is often a mental construct rather than a reality. You do not have to take anyone else's money to succeed. By innovating and improving efficiency, you can become rich while society also benefits from your work. Observe the world around you and take note of the wealth that permeates society. Notice the reliable vehicles on the road, the $100 million airplanes carrying passengers and cargo across vast distances at incredible speeds, the multi-billion-dollar telecommunications infrastructure that invisibly connects us all, the smartphone in your hand packed with technology that former kings and queens could not even dream of. This world has buildings and cruise ships and amusement parks that cost billions of dollars to create. Modern medicine helping us stay healthy and alive longer than ever before. Where is the scarcity in all of this? It is true, there are many people who still live in poverty. But it is false to say that there is not room for you to be rich. There is an abundance of wealth in this world, and you can help create even more. It is time to abandon the scarcity mentality that has been holding you back. Embrace the reality of abundance and set out to contribute and claim your share of the world's ever-expanding wealth.